Welcome back to Soul Cards and Connection. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. And do you know what else? You guys out there can see us every day on Instagram at Soul Cards and Connection Podcast. That's our, what do you guys call that? Our screen name? Our tag? Our ads?
Oh my gosh.
That's our name. Go find us everywhere, but talk to us on Instagram. It's really great. So good morning. I'm Jamie.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm April. We are so glad that you are here. Soul Cards and Connection is a podcast where the three of us are exploring tarot, astrology, ritual, figuring out how we can use all these things in our day-to-day life. We want you to trust that you found us for a reason. And let's jump into the fours of tarot.
Yay.
I'm super excited.
Me too.
I find that a lot of times these cards are sometimes overlooked, and they sometimes provide some of the strongest foundational lessons for us in all of the journey of the minor arcana. So I'm excited to talk about the fours. They have a lot of information and lessons for us to learn.
I think that's interesting. Yeah, because whenever I've pulled a 4 or a 5, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. It's like the middle of the deck and you're like, what's happening here? Because like the beginning, you're like, yes, this is the start of my journey. I understand. And the end, you're like, oh, I've completed my journey. And in the middle, you're like, what am I learning here? What's happening? What's happening in the middle? I don't know.
So when you look at the journey or the archetypal journey, the Jungian psychology and all of that, and the study of the process, you have to have, after like the challenge of the threes of like learning how to expand or that kind of energy of completion in that sense, you have to restabilize yourself before a challenge hits, right? So you could look at the fours as like a stabilization before the challenge of the fives. And so the fours help us rebalance our stability, our foundations. You can think of it like the 4 legs of a table, the 4 lines of a square. It's very kind of rigid in that sense of how we can rest or restabilize before the journey continues.
So it feels like we start with the aces and then we're like, okay, we're stable with 2s, and then we're tipped off balance with 3s, and then we're stable with 4s. And it sounds like we're going to get tipped off balance again with the 5s. So we're like on this teeter-totter trying to lay our groundwork for the journey. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, because I think that's a great way to put it, April, because genuinely, like, there's going to be moments of highs and lows during this process. And it's like a sine wave, you have the crest and the peak and the valley, right? So we have to readjust, and I think it's a really interesting place to start. We can what 4 speaks to you first?
Well, Jamie's got the 4 of Wands.
Because you said balance, and I saw this, and also it reminds me of the hoopah at my wedding.
Yep.
So it's like, can you describe that one, Jamie?
Yeah, so it's 4 pillars and 4 women at each corner. So it's making up that square we were talking about.
Yep.
And the top is gorgeous with just like, oh, yours is too.
Yeah. Mine's a little more subtle, but it still has the same like arched 4-pillared arch.
This is a beautiful card.
So it's interesting that you made that comparison, Jamie, to your own wedding, because this can sometimes symbolize like partnerships in a wedding. And it's one of those moments in the cards of like, we rebalance ourselves with others. And through that success, we are able to have a certain sense of security and stability. And the wands are great. Like it's sometimes viewed as like the 1111, symbol in the deck. It's like a really beautiful, prosperous card that like gives us encouragement to continue on that passionate path. And, it's about realizing that your journey at this point is like complete in one sense. And it's like a resting moment. It's the party before the next challenge, in this card here. So
I also want to point out the cat.
Oh, I love the cat.
It's interesting you said 1111 because we all know that 1111 is a magical number. Anybody in the audience, write us back. Like I make a wish every time I look at the clock and it's 1111.
For
You
sure.
guys, I saw 11:11 yesterday and I haven't in so long. So like, of course, here we are talking about it today. That's how it always works.
That's
Um,
crazy.
I know.
it's beautiful, but this card also has like a sense of victory, a sense of relief. It is that joining of the partnership together. Like I see this card and it kind of reminds me of my own family and how we are two and two. Like we blended, me and
Mm.
my son with my husband and his daughter, and like the partnership that kind of comes together in this blended energy. So it's about rebalancing. And I think it's a beautiful representation of that.
Yeah, it
And
feels very joyful.
this is specifically for the Four of Wands that we're
Wands,
talking about. Okay, the fire, the spirit is about the joyful joining,
the joyful joining,
the
that passion,
celebration.
that celebration, and it's really about collaboration. It's about reaching that kind of milestone. And it's one of those things that like when the energies are blended of people who are in the same path, like you become stronger together on that path.
That's amazing. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. Sorry, Debbie. I feel bad for you that you always have to deal with that name. But because I know a lot of happy Debbies, but the rest of my cards in the forest don't look so happy.
It's true
Oh
because
no.
in so many ways, like we could move to the Four of Cups, because the Four of Cups in that balancing, coming from the fire to the water, like you could look at this card and just in the normal descriptions of it, like you have this person who has three empty cups around them and one being offered that they can't even see. If they had just looked to the side, they could see that it's there. And in so many ways, this card to me represents the emotional um, feeling of like the grass is greener on the other side,
Ooh.
right? So it's like this concept that maybe we're not in gratitude of the things that we have, and the emotional fulfillment of these things doesn't really reach us. And it's like a time that we need to go back and internalize and reflect and meditate on the things that we do have. And I think that
Wow.
that's something that's really important on a journey to do. We have to reassess, we need to reevaluate, we need to look at our emotions around whatever it is that we are about to embark on. And if we're in the darker shadow side of this card, it's like depression and apathy and like this
Mm.
negative thinking always, that like keeps us in that cycle of almost being ungrateful for the things that we have. And it's a good reminder.
I love that this is like one of those times where looking at the card's imagery like brings us to the meaning, because if like when we first started, you're like talking about force being like this stabilizing point, and then Jamie's like, well, I'm scared of the rest of my cards. But like looking at it, we can dig deeper into, it's not so black and white. Like, what does the Four of Cups offer us? Like, maybe it's a reflection on where we don't have the stability, or we're emotionally needing to kind of build those four pillars. Is that accurate?
I definitely think so. And I think that it invites us when we get this card, when I get this card
Mm.
personally, I feel like to me, what this card and the energy of this card says to me, it's like, where am I escaping to? Like, that isn't fulfillment.
Mm.
Like, where am I emotionally trying to it to me, it's like I need to be more in a sense of gratitude for all of the things that do pleasure us. And in astrology, this is actually like the card that represents moon in Cancer, so it's like a double dose of like that lunar emotional energy, and it can kind of sometimes be overwhelming. And in so many ways, it's like a new moon card. Sometimes we have to hide ourselves away in order to rebalance. And so sometimes
Mm.
the need of like reassessing our emotional state is a part of that process.
I feel that today. Sometimes I feel like
No.
we're set up to speak about stuff I'm going through. Sorry,
Mm.
it just hit me. Okay, I feel like I probably was supposed to pull that card today.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
What is speaking to you right now? Like, this is a
Mm.
moment. This is
Last night I thought I was gonna have to quit teaching because I felt like I had really messed up with someone, and instead of seeing today, I'm trying to look at the positive side of what happened instead of the negative. Because last night I was just like, "Oh, just gonna quit. I'm not cut out for this anymore. It's too hard."
Mm.
Anyways, and then today I had to come look at it from, the other side. What was I missing from it, right? Because I was missing something from the conversation, and it put a very positive, more like, "Oh, no, this was actually a good thing. Like, here's what happened. This wasn't." Anyways. Okay, I'm okay, you guys. It's just a little
it's
bit of anxiety. So, I think I needed to pull that card today.
sometimes
Okay.
I thank you for being authentic and honest, and like, we're here for it. Like, this community is a safe space to share. And sometimes we're always pushing ourselves to see the silver lining, but we can't really see it until we've processed the emotional components around the situation first. And
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That was like everything you said just kinda hit the nail on the head. So okay, I'm back, everyone. So sorry. Thank you for being on that journey with
No need
me.
to apologize. It's something we're all working on, right? Like, we don't need to apologize for having feelings. Big feelings are welcome here, always.
I think we should look at the Four of Swords if that's okay, because she looks angry,
Girl.
and I feel like the next step
Let's
could
move
be
from sadness to anger, okay? Can
Yeah,
we can we transition, please? Can we
she
move
looks
to anger?
it's true. Like, anger is in fact on a little higher on that chart of
Mhm.
emotional
Right.
right.
frequency. And the Four of Swords is about, like, after the Three of Swords, which, if you can remember when we talked about it in our last episode, like, it was really hurtful. Like, it's that wounding that happens. And so, like, for the
Oh,
Four
with
of
the
Swords,
heart and the swords
Heart
through
and the
the
three
heart.
swords.
right, remember?
Mhm.
So we have to
Ouch.
have time to heal from that, right? So the Four of Swords really represents, in so many ways, the rest that needs to happen in order for us to heal. So in many of our cards, we have the swords that are three swords pointing down in some capacity, and one in my card at his on top of him, he's laying down. It's like this deep rest, this mental break, this need for a moment of peace and silence that happens after, like, a betrayal or like a really hurtful experience. We need to
This
give
is
ourselves that
relevant.
time,
Mm.
This is relevant.
right?
This weekend is like the respite from what I've been going through just as a teacher. And that's crazy that we're talking about the forest today, because this is like representing, and then this is representing. That's wild.
Like, in my card, she's in a nest. She
Wow.
is literally in the Light Seers tarot. She's curled up, and it's like that time when a caterpillar has done all of its job and it needs to, like, be in its chrysalis form before it can even move out for the challenge of flight, right? So we have to be able to, like, give ourselves that space. And Jamie, like, when you were saying retreat is one of the words for this card,
Wow.
right? Like, it's a need for
Yes.
retreat, a need for recovery.
I feel so happy that there's a card in the deck that's like, we need deep rest.
Me
Because, like, we
too.
talk about this so much, like when I do motherhood circles, we talk about, recovering from birth, whatever, or just like day to day life. Like, the idea that rest is productive and you don't need to earn rest. It is just part of what you need as a human, because our society tells us we need to earn it, right? Like, we can rest after we've done a 2-hour workout, or we can rest after we've been, super productive for the day. But the truth is that it does not need to be earned, and it is productive, and it is part of the cycle of energy and resting. So I love that there's a card that's like, sit down, go into your nest, take that deep reset. That is so amazing.
Here I was, we're talking about the middle of the deck, the fours, whatever, and
I
look at
know.
the emotional response to it from all of us right now. Like,
We didn't
Rachel,
know what
what's
to
happening to us?
we didn't know what to expect, Jamie.
It helps us dig deeper, right? So it's
Mm.
in a funny way, in the Golden Dawn, this card is representative of like the Lord of rest from strife. Like it is about how we deal with burnout, and like we need to see sometimes this card, right? Like if
Mm.
you get this card, like be be aware that you might be close to burnout, and it's a call to rest. It's a call to renew. And I think that that's a really powerful meaning for all of us in so many ways. Like April, you were saying, like it's a really stressful time right now on a variety of energetic levels out there. And we need we need that deep sense of meditative peace in order to rebalance. And this is a really and swords represent, mental energy as well. So like how we're speaking to ourself, like we just kind of need to slow down and give ourselves a little grace sometimes, and this card is beautiful for that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's incredible.
May we all pull this card today or tomorrow or sometime this week.
I
Please,
think
tarot
I think
deck,
you
send
just
it to us.
I do feel like we did though, because we had a conversation. Well, you two had a conversation, and I was just in the background in my lecture, like, I'd rather answer these right now than be teaching, right? But I didn't. I was a good teacher. But you discussed, and I agree. We weren't going to do the 4, 5s, and 6s today in episode
Mm.
recordings because we try to batch record so that we can get more episodes out to you guys sooner. But we were going to do some other cards, and you were like, you know what? Rachel was like, I think we should do 4, 5, and 6.
Mm.
And so in a sense, we did pull these cards today.
We did. I love that.
Jamie. Yes. What a beautiful reflection. Yeah, I really appreciate Rachel's perspective of like, let's honor the journey. Let's
Yeah.
continue on where we have been, what we have learned. And I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's a interesting way to view the deck, and probably one of the ways that's the most intuitive, and therefore we can relate to those kind of challenge points a little bit better. And when we look at moving to the 4 of Pentacles, this one's kind of an in-between card for me, actually. It's not particularly negative, but it's also not particularly positive.
I mean,
Is
looking at my deck, she is the one that I was drawn to first. Look how beautiful she is. In my deck, in the
Yeah.
silver tarot, she's kind of like curled up with all this fabric and she's stepping on, each foot is stepping on a pentacle. She's holding one and there's one above her head.
that's a
Mine
beautiful card.
is like the opposite of yours, April. It's the exact opposite. I have an old grumpy man, a foot on each one, and he's holding one as well, but then he's sitting on the fourth one.
And he's like got like a glare. He's like very aggressive, where my girl is like, I don't know, is she pensive? She's peaceful. I don't know. I don't know what she is. Reflective. Rachel, tell us what he's mean, please, because
Rachel's is the prettiest right now. Right?
Rachel's
Oh,
is
no,
beautiful.
because she doesn't give me the sense of like, I don't know how to interpret this. It's just pretty.
But in the Light Seers tarot, like so this is an interesting point. I love that all 3 of ours have different artwork because it's really representative of the energy of this card. 4s relate back to the 4 in the Major Arcana, which is the Emperor, right? And the Emperor is about this sense of physical stability and accumulating like an empire in that stabilization of our resources, right? So with the 4 of Pentacles, it's asking us to adjust our mindset around our resources. And in so many ways, this card can present itself like someone hoarding their money away, or like their wealth is like more important to them than their relationships around them.
Ooh.
And it's a call to like be aware that maybe we are, we're so preoccupied with gathering our resources around us that it's also a trap as well. Like when our focus is only on that, maybe we're looking at 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 it incorrectly. Like maybe our ability to keep our wealth is really like keeping us in a more negative cycle than we might imagine, right? So it does represent stability, though. At its higher octave, it is about being frugal and understanding your worth, but also in a sense to be able to help others eventually in the journey of the pentacles. And in my card, maybe we have more than we need. She's kind of sitting outside of this town, and this place is afar, and she's holding her purse, like she wants to hold on to her money rather than giving it away, and therefore she's also alone, right? And in your card, April, at the highest octave, it is about, like, this card represents kind of this energy of earthly and heavenly power of manifestation and the start of manifestation as well, like someone who has like a Midas touch to them.
Mm.
Right? She's,
Mm.
like, controlling, and she's the lady of the coin, right? So she's also able to protect herself in an unfeeling world, right? She has that security held with her, and she's standing on the two coins in order to prove that she is balanced in that way. So it this energy plays out in a different way for different art, and
Mm.
I do think that being, able to intuit the meaning by the artwork gives you a stronger reading for this card, for
Interesting.
sure.
Yeah, I'm just noticing. So the pentacles and the cups, which are feminine, right? These are our feminine suits,
Yes.
are kind of like let's take stock, like let's evaluate where we are kind of
Mhm.
vibe. And then and our wands and our swords are kind of like we're just here, we're resting or we're celebrating, like let's just be in what we are. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
It's interesting you bring that up though, April, because, like, when you look at it from the feminine energy of the cups and the pentacles, as a woman, like, if I'm, like, planning and planning and planning something, I wanna sit and I wanna reevaluate and I wanna, like, retake our stock and inventory, and that is this energy, right? And
mm,
in the masculine form, it's about the success and the rest or the nap that comes after a really, like,
mm,
right? And after that action of the threes. So
mm,
You know what is interesting as I go back to the Four of Swords? What I noticed is I was like putting the card under my light here because she's in the shadow, and very specifically, they have the sunshine on the resting swords,
mm.
while she is purposefully backing into the darkness of the shadow. And I thought that was interesting as we talk about rest. It's like, you know, I don't
mhm.
know. I
Right,
don't
like
know.
don't step into the light yet. We're not progressing here.
Yeah.
We're being in this
Yeah.
rest. We're taking a beat here. We are waiting.
Yeah.
It is, it's that energy of, like, honoring the shadow aspect in all of these too that allows us to be able to handle the challenge point of the fives that's coming, right? So when you
Oh.
think about it, we need to take stock. We need to rest up. We need to reassess what we're going to take on our journey with us when we're challenged. Like, we need to be prepared, and all of these cards assist with that preparation.
Wow. That really puts it into light. Like there's a checkpoint here for what do
Mhm.
Yeah.
we need?
Checkpoint.
Yes.
Checkpoint.
I love
Yeah.
that. It's the
Yes.
checkpoint. It's the
Okay,
stop
Well,
sign.
fours.
It's the
because the
full
journey's
stop
gonna
sign.
continue. It sounds like fives are gonna be a doozy. We'll talk about it the next episode. We will get into fives. So we really need to take that beat and just assess what's going on.
It is about balancing. So and when you look at the fours, when you think about it in those terms, like, it also represents the four elements very perfectly too, right? So each one
Mm.
of these is taking stock of the sources and the resources that we do have, and we do have all of that at our disposal if we only know how to take that in internally, so that when we are challenged, we're able to handle it no matter what.
This is like such an important point of the journey, right? As I think
Mhm.
also like talking about like rest being productive, like a lot of times we have the pull to just kind of like rush through whatever we're doing, right? And so like having this built-in like checkpoint, like let's evaluate the resources before we do this so we can be successful in our journey. I love having that built in. I don't know. I'm really digging these 4s.
I know. I don't want to start crying again because I've already cried off my makeup. And I'm not going to redo it, you guys, because it's a
No.
podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a really great summary. This was such a strong episode, Rachel. And I know like you're our resident expert and you also had a challenging week. And so I do feel like as our resident expert, she doesn't always get to talk about her challenging week because she's teaching me and you guys. But I think that we all needed to pull these. I'm just going to keep reiterating that because I was like, all right, fine, let's talk about 4s. I don't give a crap. Just kidding. Now I do.
Yeah. Now they're life-changing. Thanks, Rachel.
Honor the journey, honor the energy, and like it shows up for you when you're going to need it most. And I do believe that the cards and the energy that we see on every single one of these episodes seems to have been really aligned with where we're all at. Because I needed to come home from work one night and I just needed to like sit in quiet and meditate and take a reevaluation of my own internal thoughts about something that happened at work this week. And it was really like winding me up. And I was like, okay, I need to reevaluate so that I can project myself for the next day in a more positive light. And had I not had that like hour of meditative rest, I think the next day would not have gone as well as it did. And I felt the success of the wands having gone through, the moment that I needed. So I just encourage all of us to be more in tune and aware of the things that we do need and to rest when we can.
Wow. That's so beautiful, Rachel. And a perfect segue into our creating a meaningful moment for the week ahead. Okay, so for this week, for creating a meaningful moment, the offering that I want to bring to the table for you, well, let's take stock of what we need, right? Maybe if you want to take it further, you could lie out the 4s of your tarot and see which one's speaking to you. But even if that's too much, just taking a moment to kind of reflect on what are my needs. And I would love for you to grab a piece of paper, an index card, a Post-it, whatever, and write yourself an affirmation related to that need so that you can post or keep on your desk or put in your car so you can see it through the week. What is it that you need to hear? And write yourself an affirmation. If you'd like to take it even further, another offering is to turn that card over and write an affirmation for your community or something that you want for the people around you for the week. There's so much going on in the world right now. I think taking that moment to evaluate what we need and also provide an offering for the people around us can be really powerful. So that's what I came up with for the 4s.
I love that. You want to take it one step further, tattoo it on your arm. Just kidding.
Girl. We'll come with
that.
you. We'll meet you at the tattoo parlor.
True.
Fun fact, I went with Jamie to get her first tattoo. And it's so beautiful. It's on her wrist. It's a bird and stars.
I love it.
And it was so nice. We had like a little ritual about it. We had a coffee. We talked about the meaning. And Jamie and I are looking forward to bullying Rachel into letting us come to her next tattoo appointment.
Oh, it's on. I'm so excited.
We can't wait. Okay. Coming back together to wrap up this episode, I'm going to invite you wherever you are to take a moment, check in with yourself, put a hand on your chest, stomach, head, whatever feels good. And all together, let's just take a deep breath together in and a deep breath together out. And may you stay connected to yourself as you step back into the week. If you love what you heard today, show us some love. Like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone who could use a little extra connection in their lives. Join the conversation and stay in the loop by following us along on Instagram at Soul Cards and Connection, and let us know your thoughts, questions, and stories. Soul Cards and Connection is brought to you by your hosts and executive producers, Jamie Parker Stickle, April Treadle, and Rachel Boozer, and is a production of Make That Paper Productions. A very special thanks to our producer, audio engineer, and editor, Jason Bieber, and of course, a huge shout out to our rockstar intern, Brian Guerra, for your invaluable contributions. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay connected. Bye for now.